Hello, welcome back to my channel and to another video. Today's video, as I'm sure you'll see from the title, is about architecture, my journey with it so far, and where I am intending to go with it. It's quite possibly the biggest part of my life, or it certainly has been for the last few years. And I've never made a video just about it on its own. I've obviously mentioned snippets in vlogs when I was at uni and about managing to get my job, but there's more background to it and I wanted to share that. So that is the purpose of this video. So if we start from the beginning, I don't really know when the beginning was. I was that child that loved a bit of grand designs, as most people do. Homes Under the Hammer was on every morning that I could watch it. That was, quite frankly, my favourite thing about having a day off school was getting up and putting Homes Under the Hammer on at 10 AM. And any sort of property programme, George Clarke's Amazing Spaces, Sarah Beanie, anything like that, I was there for it, always there for it. And that then transformed into me drawing, most of the time floor plans, rather than the actual what a house would look like. I was obsessed with floor plans. I remember being at my nan's and having like one of those ruled pads, A4 pads, and a set of felt tips, and just drawing out plan after plan after plan. I look back at, well, I can't look back at them now because I don't have them, but I remember looking back at them a few years after I'd done them and realising how stupid they were. Not stupid, but just how unfeasible they were, like having a bathroom at the other side of a games room or something like that. And I was also obsessed with having lavish houses with hundreds of different rooms for different activities, like a games room and a sauna and 10 bedrooms and all these different bathrooms, and it was all over the place and higgledy-piggledy and there's big bits sticking out here, there and everywhere. But you know, it was my creativity as a younger child. I spent a lot of my time outside, especially down at my auntie's farm, because my mum had a horse down there that I used to ride, and whilst she'd be mucking the horse out or whatever, I'd be sat on the sofa in the barn, again with a pad and paper or a whiteboard and a whiteboard pen, just drawing out plans, and there was various different barns down there and outbuildings, and I would turn them into houses, even though at this point in time I didn't have a concept of size and scale and what rooms you could actually fit into them. And then also little patches of land that there were around that, oh, you could fit a building on there. And then also the arena for exercising the horses was a mixture of sand with rubber chips on it. So I'd scrape away the rubber chips and I would form the sand into little walls with doorways through, to make a physical 3D floor plan. So there'd be people on the yard walking their horses past me trying to get a serious, like, oh, Jack, mind the gate, and I'd be sat there like, don't destroy my walls, please, making these little buildings. And also, of course, things like Lego and whatnot. So that I was always, if I had every time I got Lego, basically I was building houses out of it. That's what I was going to do. And so yeah, that was the very younger years of it, and then moving through into high school, I hated science, but I had ability, and therefore I was in the top set, and that meant that I did each of the sciences individually. So I did biology, chemistry, and physics as separate subjects, whereas in the lower sets, you do them all together as just like a science lesson. But that meant that I had, I think it was 6 hours a week, maybe even more than that. No, it'd be way more than that. I'm chatting out of my bum. I think we did 5 hours a week of each, so that would be 15 hours a week. No. Do you know what? It doesn't really matter, but excuse me. From year 9 to year 11, so 3 years, we basically didn't have any teachers. They didn't know they existed, so we had supply teachers. So I'd be sat there at the back of the classroom, a random notebook, just doodling floor plan after floor plan after floor plan, rather than doing my work. Still managed to get B's in all three of the subjects, so, you know, I did fine. Anyway, that was that moving through high school, and when it came to college and choosing A levels, and I think there's this, well, I know there's a big stereotype out there that a lot of people are like, oh, if you want to do architecture, because at this point in time, architecture was my career, that's what was going to happen. The only thought before that was when I was about 5 years old, and I wanted to be a washing machine repairman. I was obsessed with washing machines. Not a plumber. Everyone will say, oh, so you want to be a plumber? No, 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 not a plumber, not a plumber. A washing machine repairman. There was a independent appliance store in our local town, and my mum would absolutely loathe if we had to walk down the street and walk past it, because we could not walk past that shop without me dragging her in there, saying if I was with my grandparents. No, 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 he did not want to do that. And they would often make sure they planned their route through the town so that we didn't go past it, so that I couldn't beg them to take me in there. Anyway, that aside, architecture is what I wanted to do. And so yeah, I got to college, well, got to sort of the end of my GCSEs when you're choosing what A levels you want to do. Sort of did the open days at college, went to see physics, hated it. Was going to do statistics at maths. No, sorry, it wasn't statistics, because I did end up doing statistics. I can't remember what of it, because there's like 3 or 4 different types of maths you can do at A level. Anyway, I got there and I basically had said to these people, look, like, want to do architecture, da da da, and they were kind of like, oh, okay, I don't think you necessarily need to do these A levels, because I went to the art and design course as well. I did art at GCSE, absolutely terrible. I can't draw for SHIT, can't do it. I'm crap at drawing, crap at painting. It's a skill I would like to learn. I did get some paints through the lockdown, but I haven't actually used them yet. But that aside, yeah, I went to all these courses thinking that's what I needed to do, and they all kind of were like, if you want to, basically saying you don't really have a natural aptitude in these subjects, but we'll let you do them because you've got decent GCSE results. So then I actually went on to different architecture courses on universities' websites to see what A levels they were wanting, and there were a few. Yes, there were from the sort of not necessarily more prestigious, but just the older universities that were like, oh, you know, like maths would be good, physics. But a lot of them just said, we want these grades in any A level subject. Besides things like general studies, obviously. So I was like, okay. So in the end, I chose to do English literature, statistics, maths, psychology, and business. Now, at my college, you did 4 A levels for your first year, and then you dropped 1 and did 3 in your second year, so you ended up with 3 A levels and 1 AS level, as it's called. And very quickly, I realised I didn't like psychology. A lot of it was to do with my tutor. I think he was called Adam. I just hated him. I can't lie about it. I hated him. We clashed. I think he's a nasty little man. Full of himself and needs to be knocked down a peg or 2. But that's enough said about that. So after 3 weeks, I went to the head of A levels and asked to change to sociology, and it's the best move I ever made. I had 2 lovely teachers called Sian and Vicky. Sian will forever have my heart. She is one of the loveliest people I've ever had the fortune to meet on this earth. I loved sociology. She is a great tutor. She does an amazing job. So I got a B in sociology. English, really liked English. I had 2 tutors in the first year, Alison and Vicky. Vicky was all right, really liked Alison. Second year, still had Alison, but had a guy called Hamilton instead, who I didn't really get on with. He was all right, but nothing. Alison was my babe. Alison, again, Alison and Sian, 2 top class ladies who I will forever treasure. and I'm glad I had as tutors at college. Business, I seem to have a natural ability for it. I didn't find it particularly difficult. I didn't necessarily find it particularly enjoyable. I didn't love it, but the work was quite simple to me. It just came naturally, so I was very lucky there. I got an A in business, and I should mention that I got a B in English literature, so I got ABB overall, because maths, I don't know if you can see where this is going, is the one that I dropped because I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Hated the teachers, hated the work, hated the lessons, found it so boring. Did no revision, did no work, got a U, excuse me, in my AS level exams. Was expecting it, wasn't surprised. I hadn't tried. I did not even try. Most of the questions I didn't even bother writing answers for. I just sat there and doodled. So yeah, I wasn't really the best student in maths, but I knew that I was good at business and enjoyed my other two subjects, so it was fine. So yeah, that was college for me. And ABB were the grades that I needed to get into university, because I chose to go to Liverpool John Moores University on the recommendation of an architect that I had spoken to. He had been there and said he'd really enjoyed the course and enjoyed the city, and I went on the open day and fell in love. And that's where I ended up going. I'll be fully honest, this is one thing that I do think is not great, in that a lot of the universities were asking for portfolios when you applied, and I just didn't have one. I had my artwork from GCSE, which was only a grade C level, so not great. I hadn't done anything since then. I hadn't picked up a pen and drawn or anything, because I don't have natural abilities for art. I just don't. And as much as that is an element of architecture, so far I believe I've managed to prove that you don't need that, that you can still be a good architect without being able to draw well. And so there was a lot of universities that I either applied to and then dropped out from because they asked for a portfolio, or just didn't even bother in the first place because I just didn't have a portfolio. But I was lucky that I visited John Moores, loved the building, really liked the feel of the city, and so chose there as my first choice, and I got the grades and I got in, and I started in September 2018. And I've had a wonderful 3 years there. Really, really great. The first year was finding my feet. I really enjoyed the course. I was aware that I only needed to get 40% to pass the year, as it didn't count for any more than that. It didn't count towards a degree. So I could probably try harder, but it's your first year at uni. You're supposed to be out partying. Those people that are concerned with getting 80% in their first year can do one for me. If that works for you, fair enough. But for me, I wasn't there for that. Second year, it really did step up a level. Like, well, it stepped up a few levels. But I managed to cope. I managed to get on with my work and get decent grades. But then, come March of my second year, the pandemic hit. Thankfully, we managed to go on our school study trip. I say school because although I was at Liverpool John Moores University, the architecture degree there comes with the Liverpool School of Art, and so hence the term school. So we went on a school trip to Berlin from the 3rd to the 9th, I want to say, of March 2020. And then I think, was it the 20th or the 21st that the UK went into its first lockdown? We got it really fine. Only 2 or 3 days after we got back did they close the borders. But that trip was amazing. It was fully funded by the university, besides things like food. Like, your expenses while you're out there were yours, but the hotel, well, hostel and flights were covered. I say hostel, it might as well have been a hotel. It was really nice. But that was great because that formed my uni group of friends, quite a big group, 13, 14 people, depending on who's there at the time. And that trip, I am forever grateful that it happened, because if it hadn't have done, things wouldn't be how they are now, and I wouldn't have as good of friends as I do now, because that meant then as we went into the lockdown, we all stayed in great contact. Our work had to continue as usual. We didn't really get any leeway with it. We got a 2% leeway. So, for example, 60 is a 2-1, 70 is a first. This is out of 100. And so if you got a 68, they would bump it up to a 70 so that you'd get a first on that project rather than a 2-1. And that was the only help we really got. So we, as a group, still were very collaborative, because it was an arts course, so it was much more based on design rather than the technologies of architecture. And that meant that we basically worked in projects. I should have prefaced this whole section with that. And so every 6 weeks we'd do a new project. Well, through the first year, every 6 weeks we'd do a new project, and some of it was group work, some of it was individual work. And yeah, it would be a 6-week project, get to the end of that, then start another 6-week project all the way through the year. Going into the second year, the first 6-week project was the formation of your ideas, and the second 6-week project was the sort of realising those ideas, designing those ideas, working it all out to the very last detail. And so that would be, first term was one project, second term was another project. Well, I say term, more semester, because semester 1 is September to Christmas, semester 2 is January to May. We had quite a short year because we finished mid-May every year. So yeah, it would be like, first half of the semester is the origination, second half of the semester is the resolution, as they were both called. So we'd done origination and resolution of project 1 in my second year, and then moving into the second half, we just finished the origination, we're moving into the resolution when COVID struck. And so we had to do the resolution at home, on technology that just wasn't cut out for it, because universities obviously have all the technology that you need, the software you need, the computers are powerful enough. I could say so much more. Suffice to say, working from home is a completely different kettle of fish and way more difficult. And also, going back to the point I was trying to make originally, it's just so much more difficult because there is such a lack of inspiration being stuck in a room on your own at a desk compared to being in the studio space we had at university, where even though you're working on individual projects, you should still be collaboratively working, because if you were stuck on an idea, you turn to your friend and say, oh, I'm stuck on this, what would you do? And then they can give you just one sentence, and that can spark the entire rest of your project, because you suddenly get through that block and see your way forward. And so as a friendship group is what I wanted to say. As a friendship group, we would do Zoom calls and we would review each other's work and give each other ideas and push each other forward to try and help each other achieve more. And we all did fine. We all did well, to be honest, under the circumstances. And then if we go back to summer of 2020, I think we were all under the idea for a lot of it that things were getting better and we'd be back to normal by September, going back to uni. But then as September drew closer, COVID rates started going up again. We went into sort of like more localised lockdowns, and we realised that winter might be quite a difficult period with the spread of the virus. And so that meant that I went back to university in September, and the only element of it that was face-to-face was my once a week tutorial with my project tutor, which was very handy, but lectures and workshops were all over Zoom for obvious reasons, to minimise contact. My birthday is the 11th of October, and I returned home for that because I was turning 21. And as I did that, things were just getting worse and worse and worse. And so I made the choice to stay at home rather than return to Liverpool. I did return to Liverpool for a couple of days later on in October to collect my belongings. But yeah, that was it. And then I had to work from home until Christmas. Thought I'd be going back in January, but things just still were not great, as I'm sure you'll be able to remember. And my mental health was declining, and my inspiration was declining, and I was really starting to struggle. My work just wasn't getting done, I wasn't doing it. And so on Valentine's Day, I moved back to Liverpool, moved back to my student house, which might be controversial because at the time we were still being advised not to travel. However, I was travelling to an address that was empty, and I lived on my own for a few weeks until some more of my housemates returned. And my inspiration did come back to an extent, but still, because of the restrictions, I couldn't really see my friends very much. Um, and I have to admit, it was a struggle, and it got to mid-March, and I realised I had 6 weeks left to get my project done, and I really had to pull my finger out. I'd got into quite a depression, if I'm being fully honest. I think I was depressed at that point in time, self-diagnosed. I've never seen a doctor, but if I really think about it, my mental health has never been that bad. I really was struggling, and I don't really think you can tell too much in the video. And it's not that I wasn't being my true self, but I tried filming those videos as my escape from that. Um, and just a brisk update of my life. And I was trying not to focus on how bad I was really feeling. I did mention it, but I didn't go into detail like I could have done. I'm not going to go into detail now because it's in the past and I'm in a great place now, have been since May, doing really well. So yes, struggled through that, but managed to get a first on my last project, on my CDP, and I was over the moon with that. My CDP was, for anyone that doesn't know what that means, it's oh, why have I forgotten this? This was like my life for 6 months. Comprehensive design project. Sorry, comprehensive design project, and it was to design a Northern Powerhouse Assembly, which is a government building for the Northern Powerhouse. And so that's what I spent 6 months designing. I will insert some pictures of my design here. And yeah, I managed to achieve a first on that. Overall, got a 2-1 on my degree, because as much as I'd done all right through COVID, my grades were very borderline first. I basically came out with 68.5%, which is 1.5% off of a first. So it's still a 2-1, but I was frustrated to say the least. I really did want the first. Sorry, there's someone going up and down the street on a scooter. Yeah, really wanted the first, but just didn't achieve it. What is this kid doing? I think he's drunk. Oh, he's really drunk. Oh. Oh, you should not have been driving that scooter. Sorry. I wish I could flip the camera and show you because he's not okay, but my phone doesn't allow that. Anyway, got a 2-1, wish I got first, hey ho. And then I spent the past 3 months enjoying my life, hanging out with my friends, going on holidays, and searching for jobs. And I got really lucky because at my 4th attempt, I was contacted by a company. They are called SMR, Smalley, Marzie and Rispin, architects based in Harrogate, which is west of York. And they said they were interested and called me in for an interview. The interview went really well. I was there for an hour and 45 minutes talking to them, and then a week later found out that they were offering me the job. And as of today, I have 10 days till I start. So I'm really excited. So let's move on to moving forward. Moving forward, I am going to be starting my job, as I've mentioned, full-time, 8 till 5, Monday to Friday, as an architectural assistant. I am yet to find out what sort of area I'll be working in because the company does work in a variety of fields, and I will be part of one of the teams in a specific field, but as of yet, I don't know that. And my rough plan for the future is to work there for a year, 2 years, maybe more, and then travel, because this will give me an opportunity to save some money, see the world, and then once I've done that, go and do my masters, which is a 2 years masters course. And then once I've done my masters course, I will then probably go back into work for a little bit before I take my final exams and become a fully qualified architect. And that's my plan. I do want to be an architect, as you will know from this entire video, but I also wanted to mention that it's not my only bag. There are other areas in the field that I love. Interiors, I would love to do interior design. If I could be an architect that also offers interior design, amazing. Also, property renovations. I would love to buy, renovate and sell on properties, or buy, renovate and rent out properties if I was in a financial position to do it. Obviously we're talking in the future because you need money to do that. But I mentioned earlier, I loved Homes Under the Hammer. I still love Homes Under the Hammer. Yeah, there's different ponds I would like to dip my rod in. Take that as an innuendo, if you will. But that's my rough plan. Who knows if that's actually what's going to happen, and if that's the order things are going to happen in, but it's things in life that I want to achieve moving forward. And that's as much as I have to say. Well, it's not. I could bang on way more about what I did at uni, and perhaps I will make a separate video about that at some point, showcasing my work and what I've done and what I've achieved. That could be another video. But yes, I just wanted to sit down and blurt out my entire experience of architecture so far and where I see myself moving forward. And I've done that in 27 minutes and 45 seconds. So not the shortest of videos. Anyway, if you're still here, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting. And if you would like to stick around, feel free to like, comment and subscribe. I really enjoy the interaction in the comments. I've managed to make some friends from that and I treasure that a lot. And I always like seeing new people popping up. So, thank you very much for watching and I will see you again soon with another video.